Are you on top of your game? And if you are, then this video might help you. It might be useful in a way or another. If you're not on top of your game, this video is definitely going to be helpful. If I told you right now to simply choose to be free, choose to be in clarity about who you are, what the game is, how it works, and then you just choose to do that. You just choose to be free and powerful right now. Are you then able to do it? And if you aren't, then why is that? What are you doing that is hindering you from having that experience of power? And we're now going to talk about what you can do if you're failing to be in your power in that way. First of all, I think it's important that we have to mention that for you to truly be powerful in this game, you have to choose to be powerful. That's just the way it is. And that probably makes sense to you. When that is said, I think it's very important that we understand one simple little thing. And it has to do with shadows. But let's call it your inner child. Let's call it the experience you probably have a lot throughout the day in your sense of self, where you also have the source self connection. Of course, these two are not the same thing. Your source self is source, and any shadow you could possibly experience is your inner child. You see, anything you could possibly experience that is not tremendous power is your inner child that has misunderstood something, that has learned something that isn't necessarily true or beneficial. Your inner child might have an idea of what is right or wrong. Your inner child is the part of you that is carrying all shadows. And for you to really be free, the inner child needs to grow up. The inner child needs high frequency consciousness. The inner child needs a high frequency. If you can communicate with your inner child, talk nicely, be kind to yourself, then it can be very easy to reach through to the inner child. But before you can really start having success with this, you need to understand what I mean when I say don't give into it. No matter what it should be, don't give into it. Learn to be in a state of observing in your life. And that might sound weird or boring, but it really is not. It's amazing. If you can practice simply just being, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what that really means. But if you can practice just being and recognize that the shadows are not you. The shadows are simply your inner child misunderstanding things, or thinking that things have to be in a certain way, or in one way or another the inner child is having a experience of something in a way that is low frequency, throwing you out of alignment and giving you a lower frequency experience. And that might often seem very real, You can probably understand what I'm saying here. Let's say you're going to bed and you lay there and you might be thinking about something. This is an example. You have the whole rest of your day to recognize when the inner child is active. But you might be laying there and imagining having a conversation with someone. Maybe you had a conversation with someone. Why did I say it like this? And so on and so on. The inner child wants to do good. It wants to do tremendously good, but it's not necessarily fully educated on a very high frequency. So it's doing its best, but if you can learn to recognize that that is not you, that is not your source self. It might seem challenging to deal with that part of yourself. You might often think that you are having these type of problems, and to some extent you do, but it's not really like it seems. Of course, you also probably always knew that it's not your source self, it's a shadow, but if you can see it for what it is, then it can be a lot easier to deal with it. The inner child needs to forgive. The inner child needs to be kind to itself. The inner child needs to be patient. It needs to know that it's safe. It needs to know that everything is perfect. Everything is good the way it is. The inner child is not in lack of anything. All things are good, and it really is. And if you can reflect back on just life situations, maybe the package didn't arrive on the day you had hoped it would, well, it kind of worked out perfectly anyway. Or if things didn't go as you thought it would, well, it was probably for the best. Things often play out in a way that is perfect. It is perfect. It is okay. It is good. And if you can learn to recognize that all of these things that are going on, they are not you. You are source, and you should observe. You should not go there. You should not take it in. You should almost see it as a thing that is happening outside of yourself. It is not something you want to connect with. It is not something you want to identify as. It is simply something that you would like to sit like this and observe. Recognize that this is going on. And then what do you do about it? You might need to have a talk with that part of yourself, with the inner child. You might have to inform it about a thing or two, educate it, but in a kind way. Be kind, be good to yourself, love yourself. And often the inner child might really be onto something. It really wants to do good. And listen, you deal with it like you would deal with people. There is no brute forcing your view or being all rough. You need to be smooth with it. You need to be mature and kind, and great things can happen. And when you really understand this, when you can really see it for what it is, there are shadows, but they are not you, and they can be handled very efficiently if you just see it for what it is, and if you can have a kind, mature, elegant approach, then you can overcome those shadows. The inner child can come home. I'm going to pull this out again. If the inner child is active, then you have something going on. It can feel very overwhelming. It can be very depleting, all sorts of negative things. If you can recognize that this is not you, then you can separate yourself from it, instead of trying to take it in or leaving your moment to go there, and you can let it be there. If you can try to understand what I'm going to say now, then it can be very easy to really overcome these shadows quickly. This is outside of the matrix. This is outside of the matrix. If you can have a clean path here, then all of this space is also outside of the matrix. Then you are free. Then you are completely free. If you then suddenly have something there, then you are probably not able to stay in your full awareness of the truth. And when I say that in full awareness of the truth, I mean, and you might have experienced it to some extent, or you might be experiencing it all the time if you're very accomplished, or you might not have much familiarity with it. But I'm talking about really being on the spot, really understanding where you are, really being on the peak of clarity, on the peak top of the pyramid, seeing things for what they are. You know, if you have something going on, if the inner child is very active, you are not going to be able to have that experience at the same time. It's definitely going to be diminished. So I want you to be very aware of this from now on, going forward in your game. That these things that are popping up are nothing to give into. You should observe it. Recognize that it's going on. Understand that it's very normal to have those things going on. There is nothing new under the sun. It's okay. And if you then can learn to not give into it, you can sweep it away in many cases. If the inner child really has held on to something, you might need to have a talk with it. You might need to guide it, ask it questions, listen, and get to the root of why you are traumatized like that in your inner child. But often you can sweep it away. Often all these things can be cleaned away with the pillar spin, sealing it off. Sometimes the inner child needs to come home. But I want you to simply practice just being. You could sit like this. I'm not saying you need to do it for very long. Even take 5 minutes here and there. And practice just being in the moment. Being in a state of observing. And I would recommend that you, first and foremost, choose to be someone who is truly on top of your game. That's a choice. If you have made that choice, you're not going to so easily confuse the inner child with yourself and thinking that it's you that have these problems. You're going to be able to catch it much easier. If you up until now have thought about yourself as someone who is doing kinda good in the game, then what does that mean? It means essentially that you have chosen to be someone who is somewhat confused about yourself and the difference between you and your inner child, and whether or not it is you that have these problems and what these problems are. But if you choose to be someone who is mastering the game, do you see what I'm saying here? Then it's going to be a lot easier to catch it and to not give into it. And I would also recommend that you sit like this. Take 5 minutes now and then throughout the day to just observe, to just be. To be someone who is successful in this game, someone who is on top of their game, someone who can see it for what it is, someone who can recognize that the inner child with its problems are not you, and that if you stop seeing it as yourself, you're going to be able to detach from it very efficiently. Then as you sit there, I want you to open a gate. A gate here from outside of the matrix to outside of the matrix in the core of your head, and simply just be in the highest frequency. Intend to be in the ultimate clarity, see the game for what it is. And if that is a state of being that you want to master, then you will get there, but it's going to take practice. You have to choose to be there. And if you can be there, then you're very accomplished, you're very powerful, so you will have to choose to be very powerful before you get there. If you can really understand what a shadow is, the inner child, a low frequency misunderstanding in a part of yourself, then you can really get control of yourself. I would, of course, have to mention that this is a lot easier if you eat healthy, if you don't overeat. If you have high blood pressure or high pulse, I suggest you take care of that. Do a little fasting, or at least eat a lot healthier. Skip the soda, skip the chocolate, skip the heavy meals, and make something fresh and nice yourself. Not too much salt, not too much extra fancy stuff, no fried food, none of that. Take at least a week and eat healthy, maybe get a day of fasting or a few. Things are going to change a lot if you can do that for yourself. And the chaos of the inner child is going to calm down a lot. Things are going to be very different. And being in a state of wholeness is going to be a lot easier. Other than that, there isn't so much more to say about it. There is so many misconceptions that the inner child can have about life. All sorts of things. And at some point in your game, you might really wake up. You might really connect with the truth. The truth is so simple. When you see it, you see it. And at that point, you can instantaneously download whatever you want, perspectives or clarity about any area of life. If you can't do that right now, then why is that? Have you been giving into the inner child? Have you been ignoring some poor choices that the inner child have made you do? Overeating, for example. Things can change so quickly for the better in this game. It really can happen quickly. In one aspect of the game, things can change in 1 second. The wave of clarity might just suddenly come. And in a different way, if you can eat healthy for a week, if you have been eating very unhealthy, then you get a totally different light in life. If you then can just have the basic straight, understand how to give into the inner child, observe it, talk to it kindly, clean your energies, sweep it away, If you could take a week to do that, then you're pretty much going to accomplish at least something tremendously great within what you can accomplish there. The same thing goes for forgiveness or being grateful to be here, to get to have this experience. The same goes for choosing to be someone who considers everything to be perfect the way it is, with all the types of people that are in this world, with all the types of scenarios in the world, with all sorts of things you have experienced, things you have failed at, things that didn't go the way it should. You would want to be someone who is highly content with the way things are. Consider it perfect. If you can give 1 week to things like this, and sure, it's totally fine if it takes longer. If it takes years, it will take years. I'm just saying that if you are ready to deal with something, and you can get to work on it, then things can really play out very quickly and very successfully. So that's it for this video. I haven't been making so many videos lately, because I have been making music, and the songs will be released now. I can't release all of them all at once, I think because I have a little work left on some of them, but new songs are coming. If you have benefited from this video, kindly consider becoming a supporter. Abundance, health and prosperity to you. Thank you so much.
This game's a step until you know your reason why. When you're true, you're true. But life is full of major adventures. Prepare yourself for wonderful places. Wonderful places. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? 1,000 mountains teaching you to live your life. Good times sometimes make a weak mind fight. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? Dream on, don't stop. What you give is always what you get. Give it all you've got. You live in a place where what you feel in your heart turns to gold in your mind. Headline, you shine, feeling good, feeling fine, make it baseline. Joyce is no worry, carefree to the very, very top of the story, glory. Oh, feeling hanky-dory, fully fine, never knew a care. And the observatory does not find fear. Baseline, lockdown, living aligned, always having game when outside the mind. Yeah, you're living for the feeling, locked into your meaning. Yeah, your purpose is to win more than anything. Score from home. You're living for the feeling, locked into your meaning.